This is a book I made in grad school called Pictures Not Used, and I found this roll of black and white film that had been developed. It was just rolled up in a tin can, and so I scanned the photos, and they're amazing. Just to see my dad at this young age with a pipe and, Paris post-war. I mean, think about it, 1946, so he's 23 years old. So he's a kid. Look at his sunglasses and his beret. They're like rock stars. It's so cool. Dad, do you want me to move your easel back?
No, that's all right.
I'm going to move the thing back. I know you told me not to get it involved. Right.
Yeah.
Did art play a role in your survival?
Yes, in a roundabout way. Becoming an artist was not quite voluntary on my part. That is, I'm using painting rather shamelessly as a form of dealing with my internal life. Part of my living that long is also an awareness that I owe the world something. That is, one of my functions was and is to be a witness, to be telling the story.
I always knew that he was unique in that he's much older than me. I mean, our whole family is pretty unique. I'm adopted, I'm Colombian, I looked different than they did. He's, I think, 63 years older than me. And in a way, it's sort of been like living with living history kind of thing.
I want you to know I'm 98 years old. Well, going close to 99. So whatever you know about that age group would hold true for me. If you had asked me then, or maybe even since then, how do you define yourself? I'm a Prague Jew with all the definitions that go with it. Bilingual, interested in everything from music to literature. Perhaps Kafka is a good example. That is, my father's generation was Kafka's generation. I consider myself a descendant of that culture. So painting was just part of it. I was a kind of a well-educated middle-class Jew who would have been ready for university or college level work. I didn't ever enter that. As the war went on, I was active as an artist in Theresienstadt, very, very much out of necessity of expressing myself.
The Theresien Ghetto, or Theresienstadt as it was called in German, was established in late 1941 and was unusual. The Nazis wanted to create a great deception around Theresienstadt. They wanted to project an image that it was a model settlement where Jews were sent to live a better life. The reality was that of a concentration camp, where more than 30,000 people died from malnutrition, forced labor, and disease, and thousands of prisoners were eventually deported to extermination camps in the east, mainly to Auschwitz. Yet to serve the propaganda efforts around Theresienstadt, many of the people the Nazis deported there were people with special status, including Jewish veterans of World War I, musicians, intellectuals, and trained artists, including Bedřich Frida, Leo Haas, František Nagel, and Otto Stein, as well as budding artists such as Helga Weissova and Fred Terna.
I did not feel at that time that I was doing anything significant, and it was only significant internally. Today, looking back, I know that it was part of my growing up as an artist. Frida was the head of the art department, and he and a few others were assigned by the Nazis to do graphics. And they, of course, they were abusing the privilege by stealing good paper and ink and whatever they could find. A handful of people, essentially, maybe 20, 30 people, who had been artists before the war and continued to be artists. Yes, I was involved in that group, but also an outsider, an amateur who would every now and then be lucky enough to get a good piece of paper. While in Terezin, I put things into a box, and being well aware that it was not exactly safe to keep a record. And one time I took my box of drawings or whatever scraps I had and showed them to Frita. He looked at it, he said, terrible, horrible. He handed back my box, he says, you know, if they find it on you, you're dead. And that's what happened to him. Yeah, I wasn't aware of what I was doing. I was just recording what was in front of me. In the sense, visual evidence. So is it great art? No, but it was done there, then. It was a way of dealing with what was in front of me. It's a visual record.
My dad started entering my work pretty early on. I said, how can I tell his story differently? How can I tell the parts that are more interesting to me? What happened after the war? I felt that as his son, I had license to really explore the B-sides. I like dressing him up and having him just redo things, reenact things with me. And then you get these like sort of joyful and surrealist looking pictures. By this point, I'm steering away from like costuming and really just documenting him. You know, like his paints, deliberately including myself in the reflection. I'm the person that is around him most, and I have the ability to record him. And so I do that. And I want to do that because I think that it's important we have a record of this person and their life and how they sounded and how they looked. And it's not only in the work I do, documenting him, it's also in how I take care of his paintings. If the paintings are records and proof of my dad's survival, then the work that I make is a continuation of his survival and spreading awareness of his survival and the job that I have to retell his story.
Somewhere in my mind there are some people who say, please don't forget me. That's very much on my mind. I don't forget them, and I can also tell others, please remember. I'm handing you a memory, and it's for you to carry it to the next generation. You too will get old one day, believe it or not, and you do whatever you can to carry that memory along.